This is Athena Jezik, and I thought today what I would show you is some things for the neck and the face. I'm going to show you some techniques that are really relaxing, and I want you to understand that one of the things about getting the body relaxed, which you learn in the fundamentals course, is because that's when the body is able to do its healing. That's when the tissues can change position, the body can begin to align itself. When we're thinking too much or we're distracted with something, the mind is always going to override the work that the body needs to do. And very few people really understand that. So when I have people on the table that are just thinking about things, I can always tell when they're thinking because the body doesn't react the same way that it does when people are just letting it go and just being with whatever moves through their mind. Not pulling thoughts in or pushing thoughts pushing thoughts out, or trying to think about what dinner's going to be or anything like that. Just to let the mind move things through like a movie screen and just observe it as it goes by. Notice the colors or whatever it is that is going to be, happening. And that puts the person into a situation with their body that they're going to be doing a lot deeper healing on many, many levels, not just the physical level. And that's one of the things that's very, very important for you to understand, particularly if you're a therapist. Now, sometimes people come in and they do just want to talk, and that's okay too. It really depends on where they're at especially the emotional level. But I notice when people really do go down deeply, I notice when their brainwave patterns are changing. Sometimes they say they can actually feel the brainwave pattern changing. They feel like they're sinking into the table and they're off somewhere. I call it hovering. Oftentimes they're still present in the room. They're aware of things around them, but they're also not really in the room. So what I'm doing here is I'm just doing a little bit of lymph work to move some of the fluids. This is a good thing to know a little bit about, particularly if there's a lot of congestion. Sometimes lymphatics will help with head pain because there'll be some fluid that's, pressing, inflammation, all that kind of stuff, but usually the cranial work is much better for headaches. And there's a special technique for the lymph. It's got to be moved in a certain direction, and then also when you're dealing with injuries, you want to check to make sure that there's not any lymph around any of the joints or where the injury is, which there usually is, a lot of fluid. You want to begin to move that fluid out of that area. And that too also takes a different technique and understanding and feel in your hands to know what you're doing. So once you get the person down to a very relaxed state, then that's when a lot of the other more advanced work can be done. And you can relax the eyes by draining the eyes behind, draining the part behind the orbit. And then you can also drain them like so. And you want to be so gentle on the eyes. So this is usually done when you're doing a little more lymph work without oil, because it's a different technique. It's a skin stretching technique, and it has to be done in the direction that the lymph is supposed to move. The lymph system does not have a pump. And contrary to what some people think, just jumping on a trampoline doesn't really move lymph. It'll move it a little bit. But the way that the lymphatic system is set up is it really does take the skin stretching to move things that have been a little bit congested. I see a lot of swollen legs and swollen ankles, and that you have to go through and open up the different node areas as well as the entire body node areas because it does not have a pump. So you're kind of at the mercy of getting it to move like a vacuum. And once that happens, then the fluid will start moving. And sometimes to the therapist's eyes, it doesn't look like it's moved, but I remember one lady came in with very swollen feet, and I thought at the end of it, I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't do anything. But when she put her slipper back, her sandal back on, it fit her differently. It was almost loose compared to what it was before. Even though it didn't look like it, the fluid had been starting to move, and over several days it was able to drain a little bit more. So this is all the techniques to just up into the shoulder and now the neck. And then you can add, so there's the fluid is moving. You can actually feel a real difference in the skin when that starts to happen. Now with lymphatic work, you do have to know there's lots of contraindications to working with the fluids. And so you need to know those contraindications. It is important to understand that not all this work is just safe to do with everybody. You really do have to have a little bit of a understanding of what's happening to the body inside. And what will happen when you're moving fluid, or even sometimes working into the muscles. You need to understand what's happening in the muscles as well. So here again is the hemp product, True Hemp Science product that I use for the lotion. It's kind of a lotion and an oil. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on because I'm going to do a little bit of neck work now into the muscle. So I'm just applying it on my hands and then rubbing it in. This is a really nice oil. And I don't always like to put oils and stuff on people's faces because some people are kind of allergic to that, or they'll break them out or something, and so I would rather just leave it for the body because faces are a little more sensitive. Although this oil would probably do fine on the face. So here just along the clavicles, opening up everything, allowing for the body to rest, and then I'm going to put a little bit more on the back side of that neck. So we can get down into this part of the shoulders. Now there's some subtle work that you can do into the shoulders to also help the relaxation. And it's very light. It's just a matter of opening up the muscle and holding the muscle until it invites you in, and then wait for it to kind of move you around. But the pressure needs to be very light there, which I'm not really doing that right now. I'm just doing a little massage in the muscle. To make sure that this is all smooth, and there's a little bit of crepitus on the left hand side, and there's a little bit more on the right hand side, so Karina's been doing some shoulder work, probably sitting at the computer. That's usually where this stuff shows up, that kind of activity. It's quite a bit actually there. So you can just work around this way. And around here through the shoulder joint. Now the quality of the muscles are something that is another thing to feel for and be aware of what's happening. Sometimes if there's a real big hard spot and it's been in an area where there might be repetitive motion injury, there's an entirely different way that you have to go about working that. And I'm finding more and more that the lighter the work is and the cross fiber friction and shaking the muscle is very helpful to do rather than going along the muscle fibers. So you need to get yourself accustomed to what the muscle is actually feeling like. And that all comes in time. You know, you can't do anything quickly. It's a step-by-step process. And in order to really master it, it's important to take those steps. So we're going around the shoulder. Okay, now I'm going to get into the neck. Now I'm going to roll the head to the side and get that long neck. Now this isn't a lot of pressure, but because the muscles of Karina have been massaged so much that they're very accustomed to this kind of work. So it's letting me go in a little bit deeper right off the bat rather than having to work at it slower. And then right along, this is the sternocleidomastoid, and there's a lot of veins and stuff in there, so you want to be real careful with that. But you can find the edge of that muscle, and then you can run it down into the sternum. Yeah. Sometimes I get the muscles, but the sternum clavicle, that's where that muscle runs up into the mastoid process, which is a bump right there at the head. So that's where the muscle is. I can kind of show you how that is. This is the muscle right here. So you can even kind of grab that muscle. I like to do it with both hands. You can just kind of grab in there and work it. And then iron it out again. Getting into that space. And then we can take the other side. This will be a little tricky for you to see over here, but I'm going to be doing the same thing along the back side of the muscles and move toward the front. And then we'll get that sternocleidomastoid. And here we'll find that again. Right here is the muscle. And pinch it there. You can see it right there. That's the underside of it. I'm kind of pulling it up so you can hopefully see a little bit of that. You can feel it really well. You can kind of go behind it too a little bit. You can take your hands and your fingers and rub it behind. And then bring the head back to the center. And then across the clavicles, that's always really nice. Under the clavicle. Out along the pectoralis muscle. And then, of course, and around the shoulder blades, or the shoulder sockets again. And then sometimes if you do this real gentle technique of waiting on the muscle, which takes a long time, but if there's a lot of tension in the shoulder area, which there usually is, you can hold those thumbs there for a while and let them just kind of sink in. Oftentimes what that'll do, it'll release things down all the way in the body. You'll see their feet even letting go at times. When people do a lot of jumping like that, that means that they're letting go of tension. They're releasing tension. And it's important for that to be done. If people don't really release that, then they'll feel good, but they're kind of incomplete in what they need. And of course, some people just don't have that kind of tension being built up inside because they do other things to maybe release it. And the age of the body has a lot of difference too, or how much the body's been used, how much trauma there's been on the body, and muscle memory patterns for emotional tension in the muscles. That should all be worked on and hopefully released. The more people get into their body and shut the brain off, the brain is kind of like the corrupting part. Because when we think too much, and if we allow the brain to think too much and just do that monkey mind thing, we're not being in the present moment. Usually we're thinking ahead or behind, or emotionally we're getting carried away with. And that affects the aura of the body. The aura is oftentimes very related to in fact it's related to the emotional body. And so I'm just loosening up there, pulling the neck long again, getting underneath. At the very base of the skull through here. You can kind of massage the ears a little bit. That's a nice feeling. Just to go around the ears, even give the ears a little bit of a stretch where you're pulling kind of out. But you want to be real gentle with this. And then you can go back and with whatever little oil is left on my hands, can just go across the forehead and around the eyebrows. This is more massage technique. At first we were just moving the fluid. And around the cheeks and up like so. And I like to pull the hair and take it all the way to the end of the hair because it's just kind of a way of feeling like finishing off and leaving the body gently. So there you have it. Please, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, make a comment if you like. I do take a look at all of them. And thank you so much for viewing. We'll see you in the next video. I want to invite you to explore my course, The Foundations of Subtle Alignment. It is going to take you beyond the work of massage therapy. It will take you into the world of the subtle anatomy. Misalignment of the subtle structures is often the root cause of chronic pain, injuries, and chronically high levels of stress hormones. These techniques offer profound benefit whether you are working on people with complex issues or not. In this course, you will learn about the subtle anatomy and a protocol for assessing and aligning the subtle structures.